And with us, we have Mr. Rostyslav Khotin. He's senior editor at RFE/RL's Ukrainian Service. Welcome, Mr. Khotin.
Hello.
So does Putin and do Putin and Xi have a point? I mean, how can you have a peace summit where one of the parties isn't invited?
You know, Putin just wants to grab headlines before the summit, on the eve of the summit, especially when Russia is not taking part, has not been invited to take part. And his proposal, so-called proposal, absolutely unacceptable for Ukraine, for international community. And the Ukrainian reaction was, they called it absurd. You know, he wants Ukraine not to join NATO. Okay, that's his view. But the most unacceptable thing is when he is saying that Ukraine should give up 4 regions currently partly occupied by Russia. He means Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions of Ukraine. It's absolutely unacceptable for Ukraine. The whole thing about this peace summit, the whole thing about war, is to restore Ukrainian territorial integrity, Ukrainian sovereignty. And suddenly Putin comes with this proposal, which is called by Ukrainians as absurd and absolutely unacceptable. He also continues to see some kind of Nazis ruling over Ukraine, and it calls for so-called denazification of Ukraine when Ukrainian president is Jewish and defense minister is Muslim, Crimean Tatar. Absolutely absurd claims. He calls for demilitarization of Ukraine, so that Ukraine has no right to have an army, having Russia as a neighbor, which can invade anytime and already invaded. You know, Putin just wanted to grab headlines before this peace summit when Russia is not invited. But having said that, the draft of the summit, which we saw, says that in the future summits, all sides, quote, all sides could be invited to take part. So this Swiss meeting in Buergenstock near Lucerne in Switzerland will lay ground for the framework of the future agreement. It discusses 3 points out of 10-point Zelensky's peace plan. 3-1, which one? It's food security, it's nuclear security, and exchange of all prisoners of wars, civilian hostages, and return of Ukrainian children, which were Ukrainian orphans especially, which were taken to Russia by occupiers. So out of 10, 3 points will be discussed in Switzerland, which have kind of the broad meaning, the wide consensus, and which are important for the global community, especially nuclear safety, when Russian forces occupy nuclear power station in Zaporizhia, and also food security. Ukraine is a big agriculture exporting country, and a lot of countries depend on Ukrainian agricultural products.
Indeed. And of course, those demands seem entirely reasonable, considering that Ukraine was the victim of an unprovoked invasion. But the fact that we're going to have, 92 countries and 8 organizations attending, what is the advantage of them coming along? I mean, countries like Turkey, for example, you can imagine, or Hungary even, you can imagine actually standing in the way of any kind of united response. But what do you think President Zelenskyy actually wants to see as an outcome, concrete outcome, at the end of this meeting?
Yes, 92 countries, it's already quite significant number, to be honest. It's more than half, almost half of UN members. Secondly, of course, Ukrainians wanted, for President Zelenskyy, there was this kind of threshold of 100 countries. They wanted 100 countries, even more. There were expectations in Kyiv that 107, 109 countries would have take part. But so far, 92 agreed. But it's already an achievement for Ukraine. Some countries were under enormous pressure from Russia, especially those who are not aligning themselves with Ukraine, clearly, but kind of hesitating a little bit. Russia put enormous pressure. Russian diplomacy worked very hard to make sure that the not significant countries will take part in Swiss summit. Also, China abstained, and it was signed. A signal was sent from Beijing to the global south, like we are not taking part. Maybe think twice before going to Switzerland. So
yeah,
Chinese
but India didn't listen to that signal, did they? I mean, India's attending. What does that tell you?
Yes, India will attend. We don't expect, Ukraine does not expect that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will take part, but nevertheless, India will be represented. Turkey will be not represented by President Erdogan, Recep Tayyip Erdogan probably, but will send other top high-ranking official. We'll see. So there are some countries which try to maintain good, at least friendly relations with Russia, who are attending the summit, like India and Turkey. We don't know about Saudi Arabia. Why Saudi Arabia is important? Because next summit, hopefully, will be held in the autumn in Saudi Arabia, and that's where Russia could be invited to join, and China. Because of Chinese-Saudi strategic relations. We'll see. But so far, Russian diplomacy did its best to discourage countries to take part in Swiss summit. And with China abstaining, it also sent a signal to the global south, don't go to Switzerland.
Understood. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Khotin, for bringing us up to date on what to expect, and we look forward to having you as a guest again in the near future to tell us what's happening. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.